Look at all this loot! DJ, none for you! Welcome back, I'm Captain Xavier, and I am a shameless fan of getting free stuff, but I am also terrible at getting around to doing some reviews. I was sent these two motors from Out of Darts, which are their new Loki motors. They're high RPM motors. Long ago now than I can remember, and I didn't have a good blaster to put them in at the time, and then I promptly forgot about them, and shame on me. Anyway, some recent stuff that I've been working on reminded me that I had them because I then had a good blaster to do a upgrade with, and so I'm gonna. I have acquired a brand new, still in box, ain't never been sniffed Worker Nightingale, and my plan was to put them in that. However, upon reading the description of the motors on Out of Dart's website, turns out without some slight modification, they won't actually fit. Out of Dart's had these made with extra long motor posts in order to get better grip on wheels, which is a really good feature. Unfortunately, the internals of the Nightingale are so svelte, small, they won't fit unless you shorten the motor shaft a little, which is not difficult. And I was really tempted to then switch to another blaster. I do have another shell that I've been meaning to put internals into forever and haven't gotten around to, and the Nightingale would, or the Lokis would be perfect for it. But I really want to be able to compare these to other motors, and I have stock low power and stock high power Nightingales that I can compare to. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in this. I will have to make a slight modification to the motors, but it's a good option for these particular motors because they are intended for smaller flywheel, micro flywheel blasters, and that is what the Nightingale is. It is pretty much my favorite micro flywheel, if you don't count the pew-pew, which I don't because that's just not fair to count that. Anyway, yeah, leave off. Here we go. I think they actually include, yeah, they literally include instructions on how to upgrade your motors, which is fabulous and hilarious. Anyway, let's get this thing open, see how long this takes. Right, well, the entire internals, I mean, that's it. There's your pusher, and then that's your entire flywheel assembly. We've got motors, trigger switch, on-off switch, battery. That's it. That's it. It's beautiful. But as we can see, oh, actually, I might have gotten a prototype version of the motors, because that shaft is not any longer. So the longer shafts may be something they added after they sent me these, which should tell you just how long I've had these and what a shameful, horrible person I am for not getting my reviews done in time. Anyway, should make this a little bit easier. Alright, motors are in. Didn't have to alter the shafts. They appear to be the right length, so I will have to get confirmation on whether or not these were in fact like first run or Gen 1 or prototypes or what. But that would be my guess, my assumption. Okay, now just a little bit of soldering. Shouldn't be too difficult. Alright, well, that should, he says, should be everything. Let me grab a suitable lipo. And we'll see if I got the wheels spinning in the right directions. So we turn it on. I do! Incidentally, this is wired on a normally closed Switch. Now we can reassemble. Here are the three blasters. We have stock low power, we have Loki motors, and then we have stock high power. At least internally it's stock. Obviously it's got the awesome kit on it. But let's head to the chronograph and we will test each one and see what the difference is. Right, let's get some FIPS. So this is the stock low power, 63, 103, 101, 103, 103. I think that first one tore the head off and gave us a bad reading. Anyway, right around 100, which is what we would expect. Let's try it with Loki's. 120, 110, 108, 110, 115. So we've increased it a little bit, but would still be under the threshold for most HVZs, or even afterworlds, which generally cap at around 120 to 130. And finally, the high-powered one. The stock makes it more stable, but also blocks the power switch. What a fool I was. 142, 116 when I snap the trigger, 134, 146, 145. So, again, right below a standard threshold of 150, which is what most public wars work with. So, definitely good options all around. Now, the biggest question I have is, as we saw here, when I didn't give it time to fully rev, there was a significant dip. And I'm wondering if that will be the biggest difference between the stock low-powered and the Loki. So let's give that a try. All right, 5 more darts each. This time, I'm not going to give it time to rev. I'm just going to fire, just pull the trigger and see what happens. I didn't even register. 100? Yeah. 33? Yeah, so it doesn't have time to really get up. The low power, you have to give it time to rev. But let's see what the Lokis do. 56, 46, 42, 41, 34. So with no rev time, we're getting low numbers, but it is still kind of functional. So if somebody, jumped out from cover really quick and you just pulled off a couple of rounds, it actually would at least leave the barrel, which we weren't seeing with the low-powered one. Let's see what the high-powered one can do if you just snap the trigger. 61, 84, 60, 59, 53. So the high-powered one does still have the advantage there. Again, you're not getting great performance, but you are getting functional performance with no rev time, which is the biggest failing of the low-powered one in my opinion. So, if you're wanting those lower RPM at the highest, when you rev it, but you want to be able to snap the trigger, the Loki's probably going to be the one to go for a lot of lower per FPS things, HVZs and stuff like that. For anything that allows for up to 150, obviously I would recommend the high power. There is a difference in price. We'll discuss that when I look it up at the end, when I ramble. For now, I want to go to the range and plink. It's not really going to serve any purpose other than I want to plink. It's a beautiful day. The sun is out. Plinking. To the range! Right, I'm here on the range. It's an absolutely gorgeous day, and I'm going to do some plinking. We'll start by doing some actual revved plinking just to plink some targets because I want to, and then we'll do some snapshot demonstrations, so. It's lovely, but if we just squeeze the trigger without giving it time to rev, what happens? I went maybe 10 feet. That went less. There I gave it just a little bit of time to rev. I was not aiming for that bottle. That was luck. The first one is real bad. After that, it gets a little bit better if you're just rapid triggering. But let's try the Loki one. First, we'll give it a full rev. We'll turn it on first. Lovely. Now, snapshots. Again, significantly better. And that's the biggest improvement, I would say. All right, where's that high-powered one? Aha! High-powered one. I will remember to turn it on this time. Lovely, and snapshots. So, yeah, the high-powered one is, depending on your purposes, definitely worth the extra 20 bucks. But if you need a lower FPS, Loki's. Let's go talk about it. Okay, so final thoughts on Loki motors. I like them, and I will be getting more of them, at least 4 more. I want to upgrade another one of my stock ones to match. So I'll have 2 with Loki's, 2 with the high-powered motors, and 1 with the low stock motor in case I need something with really low FPS. The fact that the FPS that they're getting are HVZ legal, are afterwards legal. You know, it's something I'd be willing to use in CQB indoor kind of things. Definitely makes it worth it to me. And if nothing else, the sound, there's such a much nicer sound. If you look at, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this, but the stock one versus the Loki's. It's just nicer. The stock ones are almost kind of gravelly. So I definitely like that. And I like the added torque that gives you a better snap shot. The first one's still a little low, but the ones after that, it's able to keep up pretty quick. And that is a significant improvement. Significant enough that I'm willing to pay to upgrade them. High-powered ones are great if you're doing something like, you know, stock Nerf, or yeah, super stock. Nerf wars, 150 FPS, they're great for that. Aren't going to work for things like HVZ or, you know, close quarter kind of stuff. But of the options, I definitely really like the Loki's. And there's another blaster that I've been meaning to get internals in for forever, and that's what I'll be getting the second set. The third set, I guess, would be at this point. I am curious to see if the ones that I order end up having the long motor shafts that were mentioned in the description, because the ones that I was sent had perfectly normal length motor shafts. It was the same as the stock ones. I didn't have to cut them down to get them to fit in this, but according to the description on the website, I should have had to, and I reached out to Luke from Out of Darts and said, hey, is this a thing? He's like, yeah, you definitely need to cut them down. And then when I mentioned that the ones that I had didn't need to be cut down, his response was, and I quote, huh, weird. So I don't know. I still theorize that I was sent an early release version before they decided to extend the motors, the motor shafts. Anyway, there's my thoughts. I'm going to be getting more. Link will be in the description. Get yourself some. They're pretty. They're functional. They're lovely. Cost. I forgot to mention cost. I said I would talk about cost. So Loki motors are $8.50 a piece. So upgrading it is going to increase the price of your blaster by $17, which is still less than the high-powered one, but not by much. I think there's a $20 difference. I could be wrong. Anyway, that's the price. As I said, I absolutely believe it's worth it with the testing that I've had here and just my interactions, having used these in a war, looking forward to using these in a war. I think it's worth it. But that was obviously going to be up to you. All right, now I'm done. Now, thank you for watching.